Hello and welcome to Golden Studios. Today we're going to be getting rid of some of this messy code and turning it into more organized and also a better way of doing it instead of the way that I did before. Now we're going to be using something called apply damage and event any damage, and this is a much more efficient way to apply and receive damage between AI and characters. So to get started, I'm going to set up the event any damage inside of the BP character 01. So I'm just going to come over here, find some free space, and then I'm going to right click and type event any damage. Then off of the damage we want to truncate, and after that I want to hold down B and plug that in. Next I want to get the player info, and I want to get the health, and I also want to check if they're dead. I want to plug that into the branch, and then I'm just going to drag these like this, and then off of health I'm going to type minus, so subtract, plug that in, and then off of here we're going to clamp, and then off of player info I want to get max health, and then we're going to plug that into there. So when we have damage, we're going to convert it to an integer, and we're going to minus it from the health, but I don't want it to be under or over the health range that I've set here, 0 and the max health, so it'll be anywhere in between there. And I also want to do another check, because if the health is at 0, I don't want to go any lower than that. So drag off of here, get a less than or equal, and then in the top I'll drag in health and then keep that at 0. So if it's less than 0, I want to call death, so we'll call our death function, and then off of false, that's where we want to set our health to the new health that we subtracted. So I'm going to get the player info again, and then set health, drag that off of false, and then drag this one into the health. After this, I'm going to play sound, and this is where you would put like grunting noises or noises of the player being hit. And then off of play sound, I want to come over, get character movement, and then set movement mode to walking. So click this drop down, select walking, and then just plug that in. So with that all set up, I'm going to head over into the dead function, and we'll just make sure that this is all set up. And I'm just going to delete everything just so we can restart with a brand new dead function. So I'm going to hold down B, plug that in. Then I want to come over here and get the Lego NMBP, check if it's dead, plug that in, because we don't want to do it twice. And off of false, we're going to set dead in the NMBP, so that will start the animation. And then we want to get the player info and set dead. Next you want to play sound at 2D, and then this is where you'll put your death sound, and I'll do the Lego fall apart. And then next, if you want it to be like the regular Lego games where after they die it waits a few seconds and then they come back alive, I'm going to put a delay here, and I'm just going to do 5 seconds, and then I'm going to get the player info again, and then set the health, drag that in, and then I'm going to get the max health, and then divide that by 2, because I don't want them to have full health when they revive. It's kind of a consequence. They will end up having 50 health when they come back alive. Next, I'm going to copy this right here, and we're just going to set it to false. So untick those, and then that's all for the death. And then one little thing, select everything after the delay, and then we want to disable input, and I want to get the player controller. And then after the delay, I want to enable input. And then I also want to get some more space, and I want to get character movement and disable movement. And then after enable input, I want to get the character movement again, and then I want to set the movement mode to walking. Once that's done, just select everything, click C to comment, and then we'll just call this death, and then show bubble when zoomed. Next, we're going to go to the viewport, and we're just going to delete the fist, the shield, and the sword, because I don't want that. We're going to do a more efficient way of doing this, and when they die, their weapons will disappear if you'd like. So with the mesh, I'm going to get a sphere and make sure it's a sphere collision, and I'm going to call this fist underscore L, and then I'm going to copy and paste that, and then make sure that one is called fist underscore R. And with the fist underscore R, make sure that they are under the mesh, that way they're parented. So when you come over to the parent socket with the fist R selected, type in hand R, and then it'll be like that. Just scale that down until it's the correct size that a fish should be. If you need to adjust the location, select the mesh and pause animations, and then you can drag that to the correct location. And then select the fist L, and we're going to do the same thing, hand and then L. And then I'm just going to come over here and copy the size, and I'm going to copy the scale and then paste that into the right hand so it's the same size, and then I'll adjust that. And then I'm going to click the character again and unpause the animations. Next, on the mesh, I'm going to add a static mesh, and I'm just going to call this sword mesh, and I'm going to copy and paste that. Make sure that it's under the mesh, and then I'm going to call this shield mesh. With the sword mesh, I'm going to go ahead and type in sword, selecting that, and I'm just going to drag it over here so I can see it. And with the sword selected, I want to add a box collision. So select that and then drag that over here, and then we'll just adjust this to be the same size as the sword. So once it's in the correct place, I'm going to call this sword collision, and then I'm going to click the back arrow to move it back to the same spot. For the shield mesh, I'm just going to type in shield, and then there it is right there. So with that set up, we're going to go back into the event graph, and then you'll see that there is a sword ref and a shield ref. You just want to delete those because we don't need that anymore, because we have the reference right here inside the blueprint. Makes it much easier to call and do things with them. So first, I'm going to select the fist R, scroll down on event begin overlap, and I'll do the same with the fist L and the sword collision. There we go. Now we have all of those right there. I'm going to give him some more space. So once I have all these set up, I'm going to come over here to functions, and I'm going to call this damage actor. So this is the function that will damage any actors that overlap with either the sword or the fists. So with the damage actor selected, I'm going to add a couple of inputs. The first one I'm going to call other actor, and the other one I'm going to call damage. The damage I'm going to change to float, and the other actor I'm just going to change to actor. So type in actor, the one down here, and then the object reference. So now we have that. Next, I'm going to drag off of other actor and promote to local variable. Call it other actor without a space, because we already have variable in here. It doesn't let you call it the same thing. And then off of damage, do the same thing, promote to local variable, and then call this damage amount. And then plug those in. I'm going to use a reroute node just to make it look better. Next, I want to hold down B, and then off of condition, I want to get AND, because we're going to do a check between two different things, and if they're both true, then I want to continue. So I'm going to drag off and get other actor, and then I'm going to get a reference to self, and also the capsule component. And then off of other actor, I'm just going to type in exclamation point, so not equal. I'm going to plug in the capsule component, and then I'm going to copy and paste this, put the other actor inside, and then self. And then I'm going to plug these in here because we don't want to give damage to ourselves either through the capsule component or self. Next, we're going to hold down B, get true, and then get actor, and then actor has tag. I'm going to drag in other actor into there, and then type in enemy, just like that. And I'm going to open up the AI, so go to characters, AI, open that up, click the top BP AI self, type in tag, and then just make sure that it's the same spelling in here, otherwise it won't work. Looks like it's the same, so we're good. Next, if it's not an enemy, like if it's a chair or stool or something, we still want to apply damage. So I'm going to do apply damage, and then damage actors, drag in other actor, and I'm just going to set the base damage to 1, and then off of damage causer, I'm just going to type in self, because we are causing the damage. Off of true, I'm going to get a do once, and then I'm going to hold down S, get a sequence, and then I'm going to hold down B twice, plug these in, and I want to get the player info, and then off of here, I'm going to get punch, drag that in, then I'll get slash, and make sure it is not the AI slash, otherwise it'll mess things up. Next, I'm just going to copy this down here, the apply damage, I'm going to plug that in here, and then paste it again, and plug it into this one. Next, I'm going to get the damage amount, and plug that into there, and this is the damage amount that we're going to enter into the function right here. So I can go ahead and call that function. We're not finished in there yet, but just to show you, we're going to drag that in there. So we'll be able to enter in the damage amount right here, and the other actor will go into other actor. So whichever actor it's colliding with, that's the one that will go in here, and that's the one that is setting the variable right here. Next, I want to come off here and play sound at 2D, and I'm going to get the punch cue because we were punching. I'm going to copy and paste, put that down here, and then slash because we are slashing. Next, I'm going to copy and paste these right here, and I'm going to paste them, and then plug those in like that. And then off of false, we're going to be able to reset the do once. So we'll plug that in there off of false. And I'm just going to use some reroute nodes just to make this look better. So once we do that, we should be done in here. So we can compile, save, and then head back to the event graph. I'm just going to copy and paste this down here as well. So after plugging all of these up, I'm going to set a delay, and I would set it inside the function, but delays can't be in functions, so we'll just put it on the outside. So after plugging all of this in, we want to get the player info, and then type in is valid, and we want to get the question mark one, and then plug it in, is valid, copy and paste. We'll put that down here as well, and then plug that in, and then I'm just going to copy and paste this again, and then put it down here. Next, we need to set up spawning the sword and shield. I'm going to select all this first, push C, and then do a punch slash slash. So I'm going to come over here to functions, and the sword, shield, and hand is what I want to do first. I'm just going to delete everything in here, so we just have this. I'm going to hold down S. I want to detach from component. I'm just going to delete that. For the target, I want to do the shield, and just keep everything the same. And then I'm going to get the shield reference again, and I'm going to type attach component to component. So plug that in, and the parent will be the mesh, so just our skeleton mesh. And the location rule, I'm going to do snap to target, and then untick weld simulated bodies. The socket name, we already have it right here. The shield hand, I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to delete this function. And then in local variables, I'm going to type that in, and then change this to a name, and then paste that into here, so shield hand, and then drag that into the socket name. So we got the shield mesh and the shield hand, and it doesn't matter if it's already on the hand or on the back. We're just going to detach from component anyways, and then attach to component. And then make sure that this is all snap to target and untick weld simulated bodies. Next, we're going to copy all of this and paste it, plug that in, and then the only things we're going to change out is drag in the sword mesh, and then we're going to add another, and then we're going to come up here to the sword hand socket, copy that, and then delete that, come up here to local variables, paste, and then paste in here, sword hand. So we're just going to change this out to sword hand. Make sure it's all snap to target and untick weld simulated bodies, and then that should be it. So next we're just going to copy this, and I'm going to go to sword on back, and then again just delete everything, and then paste, and then plug that in, and then we're going to change these out for sword back and shield back. So we're going to come over here, copy the shield back, I'm going to delete that, go to local variables, paste that in, and paste that into the value. Once that's pasted in, come over here, and then drag that in here, so back shield socket, got the shield mesh, and then we want the sword hand, so I'm going to come up here to the back socket, and then I'll delete that, and then paste that in, and then for this one, I'm going to rename the variable to sword, just so I know which one it is, and then drag that into here. So that's it for that, and if you're getting an error here, just delete it, and then drag it back in, and then plug it in, and then compile, and then it should be working without any issues. Next, we're going to go to the BP AI, and we're just going to copy and paste all this stuff, so the shield, sword, and the fist, and all of that stuff. And I come over here, and then delete all of this, and then on the mesh, paste, and just drag that onto the mesh. Next, on the shield, you just want to click the back arrow, as well as on here, and then the fist, I want to get the hand L, and then click back on all of these, and then scale that down to be the correct size. And I click on this, pause animations, click on the sphere again, and position it into the right spot. Then on the fist R, go back on everything, and then select hand R, and on the fist L, I'm going to copy and paste the scale, and then paste it into the scale for that, and then adjust it. Then I'll unpause the animations for that. Next, in the event graph, I want to click sword and shield on back, go in the character, and go to the sword and shield on back. We just want to copy everything on here, and then delete everything in the AI. Just paste that, and then drag that in there. I'm going to create local variables for these, because they're on the same skeleton, so they have the same sockets. And I'm just going to delete all of the ones in the variable right here, as well as these ones for the hand. Next, I want to open up the sword and shield in hand, delete all this, go to the character, and sword and shield in hand, copy that, paste it into the sword and shield hand in the AI, plug that in, and then just create local variables, and then compile, and then that should be good. Next, go to the event graph, and then just find some free space. Next, I want to come over here in the character, copy the damage actor, go to the functions, and then select the function right here, click on it, and then you can paste. So we have the damage actor right here, and then we just want to change a couple things in here. Like we want to change this to player, and we want to come over here to BP character, type in tag, and make sure that the spelling is the same, and it is, so we're good there. And then over here we just want to change this out, and we want to create local variables for this. So I'm going to call this punch, question mark, and plug that in. And then I'm going to copy and paste that and call it slash, question mark, and then plug that in. And then I'll do the same thing over here, slash and punch. So just like that, and then that should be good to go. So go pile, go back to the event graph, and then go to the character, copy punch slash slash, and then paste it, and you shouldn't have any issues because we already have this created, and we have all of these created, the sword collision, fist, R, and L, and they all have the exact same names, so it will work perfectly. So we'll just compile that, and then also that we have the same thing in the BP AI with the event any damage, truncate the health, get the health, check if it's dead, and we set the health, and then off of here we want to set that, the max health being 100 for the AI, and then we want to check if it's under 0. If it is, then we want to call the dead. If it isn't, then we want to play the 2D sound. And then also set character movement walking in case we played an animation montage or anything before that. So now the next thing, we just want to delete the is hit, and then I'm going to drag this over here, click C to comment, and I'm going to call this any damage, question mark, and then show bubble in the character 1, I'm going to do the same thing, comment any damage, question mark, and then in the comment, show bubble, and in here I'm just going to comment this as well to ride, and then the is hit, I want to take that and just delete that because we don't need that anymore because we have the event any damage. And then if you followed along with the last tutorial, we set up the shooter, so we need to replace the BP shooter to the character 01 in here. So then I'm going to press play, and you can see it's right there. And if I switch between them and I copied and pasted the socket names correctly, they should just go to the socket places. If you didn't, then you'll want to go to the Lego guy and then the skeletal mesh, and then you'll want to open up the Lego skeleton, and then make sure that you copied these sockets over here correctly, and make sure that you actually have these sockets. If you did all that correctly, this should be working. It should be punching and slashing. And if I come over here to the character, and with the physics in the sword, it actually knocks the player back, which adds a bit more fun to the gameplay. So in the BP AI, it looks like that when I applied the variable, it didn't copy along the name with it, so it just says none. So we'll go to character 01, and I'll start in sword and shield hand. So get the shield hand, and just copy that, and then we'll just copy all of these over. So shield hand, sword hand, and then we want to do the sword and shield. So we'll copy the back shield, and then we also want to get the back socket for the sword on the back. So once we plug that in, you can see that he has everything on correctly. So that's working. It appears that the health though isn't working. So it looks like the problem is we forgot to add the damage in here. So for the sword, I'm going to make it damage of 10. For the punching, I'm going to do a damage of 3. And this is for the AI. So this is the amount of damage the AI will deal to the player. In the character 1, I'm going to go to event graph, and then punch and slash. I'm going to make it a little higher, so 5 for punching with the character, and then for damage I'm going to do 15. And in the player info you could create values for these and call them in. If you wanted to upgrade, I might do weapon upgrading later, just if you wanted to upgrade the weapon damage or anything like that. Right now I'm just going to do it right here, nice and simple. So now if I play and I come over here and I can kill him, you can see that he's not doing any damage to me. He is knocking me around a bit, however he's not dealing any damage. So let's look into why that's happening. First I'm going to come into the static meshes, and I'm going to come down to collision and then custom, and I want to ignore the camera. Then on the sword as well, I'm going to go to custom and then ignore camera, and I'm going to do the same for the AI, just so it doesn't mess up what the camera's seeing. And I'm looking at it now, the sword collision isn't parented to the sword, so I'm going to drag that on top of there, drag out the sword, and get the collision, and I'm just going to reset all of its values, and we're just going to have to resize this onto the sword. So now that that's resized, I'm going to reset the location of the sword, and then one more thing, I'm going to come to the event graph, and the death, I'm going to go to the character 01 as well, and I'm just going to copy the death and then delete everything except for the function, paste that in, delete this custom event that was from the character 01, get this dead, drag it over here, and then it should be the same. We want to check if it's dead. If it's not, we want to set it dead once we play the animation. And actually want to have this one inside the blueprint, so I'm going to delete that, and we've already created one right there. So I'm just going to set that, and then the Lego fall apart, disable input, and since it's an AI, we don't need the disable input. We do want to disable the movement, and then I actually don't want this because I don't want it to come back alive. I do want it to wait to destroy though, just so it sits around for a second. I'm going to do 5 seconds, you can do longer or shorter. This is just how long until the body will be destroyed. Before that, I'm actually going to drag off. I'm going to type in set collision enabled, and then I'm going to get the capsule target, and also the mesh, and also the sword, and the shield, because I don't want anything to collide with these once they're dead, and you want to set this to no collision. So then after 5 seconds, I'm going to destroy actor, and then that will actually destroy everything, including the sword and the shield. So I believe everything else should be working. Next, we want to come through here and just delete this. I'm in the attack, and I want to set slash. Instead of it coming from the player info, we're just going to have it come from here, because we don't need that from the player info anymore. I'm actually going to come to content blueprints and then player info, and I'm going to get rid of the AI slash and the AI punch. And then I'll come back to the AI, and still in the attack at the end, I want to get this, set the slash again, and set it to false. I'm going to come up here to punch, and then I want to set punch, set it to true, and I come over here, delete this, and then set punch and leave it as false. And just to make things more efficient, I'm going to change all of these ones to the dead function that we have inside of our blueprint. So right here as well, I'm going to change this to dead, and then I believe those were the only ones, except for this one as well. I'm going to change that to dead. So now if I play, if I let him hit me, he'll take away health. And then over here in the combat, I'm going to delete this and just plug that in there, and then just drag that down so it just looks a little better. If you want to change how fast they take your health, you can just lower these values right here. So these are the values that they damage. So I'm going to change this to 7 and then these to 2. One last thing that I'm going to show you is select one of these stools. I'm going to do Control B. That'll just take you right to it. And we're basically going to do the exact same thing. We want to event any damage. And I'm just going to delete this stuff and then just plug it into here. And then it'll just work exactly the same. You can punch it or slash it. And then it'll break and drop a bunch of coins. Thank you so much for watching. In the next episode, we'll probably be making a health pickup. I also created a function for event any health, which isn't in Unreal Engine, so I had to create it using blueprint interfaces, but it works basically the same as any damage and event damage. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.